What's up, everybody? Rothstein here, Betting Public Sports Show. I'm your beloved host, Fame Rothstein, a.k.a. Michael Snackson, a.k.a. Bay O Wolf, a.k.a. Malcolm Excellence, a.k.a. Hacksaw Jim Thuggin, a.k.a. Yves Saint Croissant. Today is Wednesday, June 11th, 2025. Please like and subscribe to the channel. Leave comments, but definitely mash that like button, all right? Like I said in a previous video, I'm working on the kinks on how to do a live show. I'm not Kai Cenat, nothing like that, but, we do some live show and talk a little shit. So I'm, working on that, But in the meantime, I'm, dropping random videos. The sports betting is still, my main thing, and I just don't have any, my action is so sporadic right now, randomly, just because of time to do a show and whatnot. But I want to do this, but as you know, I give opinions and do entertainment, things like that. And I want to holler at you about this. All my sports fans, especially college basketball, our buddy Chris Webber. I don't know if you've been knowing what's going on with that saga in the last week or so, but apparently it came out that it's been reported on several internet sites and YouTube channels and whatnot that Chris Webber, while on the Sacramento Kings with teammate Doug Christie, Chris Webber apparently fathered a daughter to Doug Christie's wife, and Doug was none the wiser of it. He didn't know, and so so Doug went through the whole thing thinking that was his daughter, and then I guess he found out that it wasn't, and according to reports, he sued Webber and his former wife, Jackie Christie, and again, reports are saying that that they owe him $4 million and whatnot, and they're saying that that during the time where they were fooling Doug, that Chris would come over to the house, basically play uncle to his own flesh and blood, to the girl. And so that's been going on on gossip sites and everything for the last week or so. And Chris Webber finally issued a response recently, like the last day or two, where he said that okay, let me start over, because a lot of people were reacting to it. One most notably, comedian Corey Holcomb of the 5150 show that he does with Darlene Ortiz. All my fellow old heads remember her from the Ice-T, the early Ice-T album covers. The little Latin chick he had on there, that's her. And another comedian, I'm not familiar with the guy, but the guy is pretty funny when he's on the show. I need to get more acquainted with him, but gives good commentary. And I'm watching 8 Man Out in the background. Rothstein, you already know. But anyway, so yeah. So Doug Christie, or Corey Holcomb on his show, they talked about it. And then Chris Webber issued a statement, not necessarily, he didn't mention Corey Holcomb, but all the other internet gossip is saying that he's talking about Corey Holcomb basically threatening to sue anybody who has his name in content with lies and whatnot. Talking real tough, real slick, real greasy, Chris Webber was. And personally, for talking greasy like that, threatening to sue everybody and whatnot, things like that, Chris Webber, that's some sucker shit, for real. And you just solidified that you was a sucker doing that shit. Because apparently these reports are coming from court. The original reports were they were coming from an alleged court documents about you and her. So, like, what lies would be out there? And be more specific about the lies that you're saying they're telling them. I mean, you said all the lies. So you saying none of this happened? You weren't messing with Doug Christie's wife. You wasn't in court sued for it and whatnot. Are you saying none of this happened? Because she didn't say any of that. Jackie Christie, she said nothing. You know what I'm saying? So you said none of this happened, and Corey Holcomb responded to your reply by saying, like, listen, my man Chris, listen, if you fucking your teammate's wife, you're a dirtbag. He's like, I fuck people's wives. I'm a dirtbag. Yeah, Chris, I mean, real talk. If you fucking around on your teammate's wife like that, that's some dirty ass, what they call that? Nasty work. That's nasty work. That's diabolical work. Like, you a dirtball ass nigga. There's no other way to describe that type of behavior. And the reason why Weber is acting like that, I'm about to tell you. Let me stretch out for a second. Here, I'll land it as quick as I can. Chris Webber hits the scene in high school. 1990, 91, whatever year he graduated, because he's a part of this. Well, he's, one of the top recruits in the nation. He's thinking about going to Duke, but he ends up going to Michigan. And him and four others, Juwan Howard, Jalen Rose, Jimmy King, and Ray Jackson. They're the Fab Five freshmen going to Michigan, all in the same class. And in 2 years, they went to 2 Final Fours as the starting cast. So as freshmen and sophomores, carry a team to the Final Four. And Chris Webber was the best out of all of them. He's the one. That's why they only went 2 years, because he left early. And he's got the iconic play in the timeout situation in the Final Four against Michigan in his last college game. And the Fab Five, like trust me, as an old head, listen, if you don't know, I'm telling you what I know, not what I was told. I was there, I watched them, I was right there in high school, right behind them, a couple years behind them in high school. Like, they was them dudes. They was them. Not even close. It was close. Vegas, the class right before them, Vegas, because they both ended up playing a Duke team led by Christian Laettner in the Final Four. I mean, and the Fab Five was so good. Remember, they only played 2 years together. They were so good that Bill Walton, rest in peace, said that they underachieved because they didn't win a title. And you hate to hear somebody, you can say what you want about Bill Walton and get mad, oh, man, you saying that about some black kids, blah, blah, blah. On some level, Bill Walton was right. Like, they did kind of underachieve. Like, they should have won a title. I guess Webber could have stayed a third year and they win the title. I don't know. But they should have won a title. And, and then there's a situation with Webber and the booster, Ed Martin, that it caused them to, the university to disassociate with the Fab Five, and all the banners and shit coming down out of the rafters. I mean, I think they came out, and it was something about Martin, the booster, or the guy Ed Martin, gave Chris Webber some money, like $284,000, if I remember right, according to reports, but it was 6 figures. And blah blah blah. Now that we know what we know about sports betting, because it's more mainstream, I don't remember what the betting lines for that game was, but you know what I'm saying. But I mean, that was the thing too. Vegas, like, they was in the hot tub with a known game fixer. You see what I'm saying? The best 2 players on each team, Webber and Larry Johnson on UNLV, like, they were both caught up in like a late game play with some shit, you know what I'm saying? Like, not saying anybody did anything. I'm just saying, like, these are the facts, about these 2 teams. But yeah, and so, And then Weber goes, takes his career, and he has a decent career in the NBA. I don't remember if he was on that Detroit. I think he was on that Detroit team that won the 2005 finals, or he came the very next year. But I think he was on that team. But yeah, I mean, so Weber's had, he's been in the American sports conscious for well over 30 years. Usually as a likable, good guy. But according to this Doug Christie shit, Jackie Christie, the baby and all that, if that shit's true, this will be the first time where Chris Webber is looked at as the bad guy. And he probably knows it's true, and he doesn't like being the bad guy. He's unequivocally the bad guy in this. Unequivocally. Taking money from a booster, back then, people were giving the athletes grace. That's why the NIL came. So guys could do that. They wouldn't have to get in trouble for taking money. He was given grace then. He was a young man, blah, blah, blah. Plays for Sacramento. He doesn't win a title with Sacramento. He's given grace. He goes up against the two-headed monster known as Shaq and Kobe. And if I'm not mistaken, he went against number 8 Kobe with the afro and shit, like athletic, dunk on everybody Kobe. That one. 24 Kobe was more skilled. Number 8 Kobe was an animal. You know what I'm saying? He's giving grace. But in this situation where you're fucking your teammate's wife, he doesn't get any grace. He's unequivocally the bad guy. And he doesn't like it. So that's why he's talking greasy like that. Why would somebody just randomly pull out these damn stories about you in particular? Again, at this point, Jackie Christie hasn't said anything. Neither has Doug. But, Weber's the one talking greasy about suing people, this and that. All we gotta do is get a hold of Jackie to say, hey, is this true? But like I said, from what I understand the court records, these stories are coming from the court records. But I don't know. But hey, let me get out here. Make sure you smash the like button for me. Leave comments. Leave some commentary. What do you think about the Chris Webber shit? Is that what it is? He's just mad because he's finally the unequivocal bad guy? Like they say, you die young or live long enough to become what they say, die young as the hero or live long enough to become the villain. Now he's the villain. Was it in the Fab Five documentary that Jalen Rose did? He was given grace. They weren't speaking at the time because of the booster situation. The Ed Martin guy. The money to Weber. That's what I'm saying. He was always given grace. He gets no grace for this, if it's true. And he's not getting grace for it. He doesn't like it. But what's your opinion on the whole situation? Let me know. Leave it in the comments. But smash up that like button. And I'll holler back at y'all soon. Until then, everybody be well. Peace.